You started writing your story because you loved it, right? You had something you wanted to tell, characters that you wanted to bring to life, or you wanted to send a specific message. But now, maybe your book feels more like a burden than anything else. It doesn't give you that same joy or energy that you once had. Sometimes the process of writing a book becomes extremely overwhelming because it's such an intense and honestly all-consuming process. So it's important for you to be able to recognize when your relationship with your book is possibly becoming toxic. Today, I want to talk about some signs that indicate that maybe you should take a break from your book so that you can instead prioritize your well-being and regain your creative spark and energy, and ultimately foster a healthier and more productive writing habit. So if you're in the position of finding yourself questioning your relationship with your book, this video is for you. If you're new here, welcome. I am a developmental book editor, and every week I either post videos with writing tips like this one, or I talk about the publishing industry specifically from the Big Five side of things, as that's my professional background. If any of that interests you, I recommend joining this amazing community of more than 20,000 writers by hitting that subscribe button. And while you're down there, if everyone could just hit that thumbs up button, it really helps my channel reach more writers just like you. So let's talk about the first sign that you have a toxic relationship with your book, and that's that you're feeling burnt out. If the writing process is starting to feel like an unbearable burden and something that you dread, then it may be a sign you need to take a break. While writing a book and revising it and publishing it and everything that goes into that is certainly intense and challenging at times, it ultimately should be energizing and feel like something exciting to you, something that brings you joy and fulfillment. But too often we lose those positive associations with writing our book because the whole process just gets us down. Pushing yourself beyond your limits and forcing yourself to work on your book when it just isn't working and it isn't going anywhere can ultimately be counterproductive. And in the long term, it could negatively impact your creativity and motivation. Burnout can happen if you are someone who sets specific writing deadlines, like you need to have a certain number of words done per writing session, because that can end up stressing you out because you feel like you're not achieving your goals. So removing those stipulations can actually help relieve your burnout, in addition to taking a break for a period of time. Take a hard look at yourself and recognize any signs of burnout, like fatigue or lack of focus or that sense of dread when you sit down to write. If you're feeling any of that, I recommend taking a step back and taking some time to recharge. The next sign that you have a toxic relationship with your book is if you've lost sight of your why. Why did you write this book to begin with? Think about that right now. Is it a personal story that means a lot to you? Or perhaps one of your characters reflects a struggle that one of your loved ones went through? If you're losing a connection to that initial why factor that brought you to the page to begin with, it might be time to take a break from your book. Because writing a book requires so much energy and commitment on your part, you need to be continually oriented to that why. That is going to keep you going. That's really the fuel that's going to energize you. So if your enthusiasm for the project has dwindled or is disappeared entirely, you're likely going to lose that sense of motivation and lose that energy. Think about what initially drew you to this project, and if it still resonates with you, if it's still a priority for you at this point. If it doesn't align with your current goals and interests, then maybe it's time to take a break and work on something that does align with your priorities and interests at this moment. Maybe shifting your energy toward a different project that feels more energizing to you right now would be more productive. Or possibly reminding yourself of that why that brought you to the story in the very beginning could re-energize you and make you want to return to the writing process with that newfound sense of passion. Before we move on, I want to let you know about a free resource I have in the description below for anyone who has a current work in progress. It's called my Story Self-Assessment Worksheet. If you're feeling like you might want to break up with your book, doing this exercise can help you see your story from a new perspective. You can see what's working well in it, as well as what you can improve on the next iteration. Downloading that is going to sign you up for my newsletter, where I publish exclusive interviews with publishing industry professionals and successfully published authors, and you don't want to miss out on all the amazing tips and insights they're sharing. If you want to check out the newsletter directly, the link is also in the description. The next way to tell if you have a toxic relationship with your book is if you're feeling overwhelmed by self-doubt. Constant negative self-talk can poison your relationship with your book. If you constantly find yourself criticizing your own work, feeling unworthy, feeling discouraged about publishing, feeling bad about your abilities as an author, then you really need to address these negative thought patterns and make that a priority. I have another video that goes into destructive writing habits, and this is one of the top ones. I'll put the link in the description for you to check that out after this one. Even though self-doubt is a very common experience for almost every writer, allowing it to totally consume you and erode your mental health is counterproductive. It's only going to spiral into making your writing even more of a burden and possibly make your writing even worse, which then will fuel your self-doubt even more. So you see how that is kind of a never-ending cycle? If your self-doubt is caused by getting negative feedback on this particular story and not knowing how to address it, then I recommend setting it aside and work on something else. Something that doesn't have that baggage attached to it. Remember that even if that story isn't the best thing you've ever written, that doesn't mean you're a bad writer by any means. Just redirect your energy to a new project if it feels like this one has gone sour. You're only going to improve by writing. The next way to discern if you have a toxic relationship with your book is if you hate everything you've written. Sometimes authors reach the point where they read back over their work and just start to cringe. Suddenly they hate every word they've put down on the page and just feel embarrassed to have ever written it to begin with. This is a strong sign that your relationship with your book has gone toxic, because it's likely that what you've written actually isn't that bad and certainly isn't embarrassing, but it's your own negative energy and negative associations with it that are coloring your interpretation. You're ultimately just being overly critical of yourself. To get to the point where you can productively share your work, receive feedback, strengthen your story, revise, and ultimately publish it, you need to feel confident in what you've put down and proud of it. So if you find yourself struggling to read your work without feeling embarrassed, I would take a break. It is not going to be productive for you to try to continue to work on your book when you are seeing it in this veiled way, because you're not actually seeing your writing for what it is. You have all of these negative associations with it that are changing how you see it. It's like when you look into a mirror and you don't see your true reflection, you see a morphed version of it. That's what's happening with your book. Hopefully, taking some time away will allow you to revisit it down the line and see the story for what it truly is and the value that it truly brings. I hope this video helped you realize that it's okay to break up with your book for a period of time at least, if you need to. It's not giving up on your story. It is an act of self-care that's going to allow you to return to it with revitalized energy. Let me know in the comments if, after watching this video, you think you have a healthy or toxic relationship with your book. Have you experienced any of the issues I went over today? If you're looking for some more tips on how to maintain your motivation for writing, I have another video that goes into just that, and I'll link it in the description. Before you head out, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and grab your free story self-assessment worksheet, and check out my newsletter link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and happy writing.